So we are right in the middle of the revision series where I share everything there is to possibly share about revision for the purpose of helping you to fall in love with revision so that you are using it on a regular basis, because it is by far one of the most amazing and powerful, life-changing techniques in law of assumption. And it is the technique that has helped me to completely change my life and free me from some of the very unpleasant, negative, traumatic stories that have pretty much governed most of my life until coming into this work. So last week I shared a very personal, very vulnerable story about using revision to revise your body and how I used it to revise my body. And I want to thank all of you who commented and left your kind words, because it really did help me to come to peace with the sharing of that story. I did actually underestimate how much of an impact the sharing of that story would have on me, because 24 hours after recording that video, I got this. I don't know if you can hear it, but I am definitely not 100%. Now, I have not been sick in years. So for me to get sick 24 hours after recording that video is not by chance, it's not by accident, there's no coincidence. There is a purpose behind it. And that is what I want to talk about today, because this is a really important part of revision that I completely forgot about until I experienced it myself. And that is also why I'm going to put off the video that I did say that I would make as the next video, which is around revising trauma. I'm going to hold off on that until I'm better and I have more energy. And that's what we're doing today. My name is Hedley and I am a Law of Assumption coach. If you are new here, welcome, you're in the right place. And if not, thank you so much for being here again. More information about my offerings, including coaching and courses and my book, I Am Money, you'll find that in the box below this video or at my website, youaretheone.com.au. If you are finding my videos useful and helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could press that subscribe button. Thank you so much. Because I am still in recovery mode, I am going to be posting another video, but I just want to give a little intro into the video that I'm going to post on the back of this one, because I just kind of don't have the energy to do a video, but I didn't want to not do a video. And also just to show you that this is actually part of the revision process. It's nothing to be afraid of. The fact that I got sick, and I'm putting that in inverted commas because I'm not actually sick, I am actually purging the old state of consciousness. Now, I know that people have some fear about purging. When I have really brought a deep story up to the surface and I've rewritten it, I will often experience a physical release of that story. So while I'm shifting the story in consciousness, that story also gets kind of purged in reality as well. And that can happen in a number of ways. And I'm going to let the video that I'm going to post after this one explain that a bit further. But there is nothing wrong with purging. Purging is a powerful part of the revision process, and I completely forgot about it until I experienced it myself this week, and I realized, oh my goodness, this is actually a purge of that story, and this is an important part to let people know. That's why I wanted to make this video, so that you could see me in this state. Now, here's the amazing thing about what I'm currently experiencing, is I have not put these dots together. Since my teenage years, since I was about 18 years old, I have every year been experiencing a reoccurring chest infection. It's through this purging now, I was able to connect the dots to the toxic consciousness that I had been holding about my chest that I shared about in the last video. That manifested as a reoccurring chest infection because the body mirrors consciousness. So while I had an infected consciousness about my chest, that infected consciousness that was given to me by my diving teacher, that was expressed as a reoccurring chest infection that I have had every single year, sometimes multiple times a year for my entire adulthood up until coming into Law of Assumption. And there's no coincidence that I recorded that video last week. 24 hours later, that reoccurring chest infection just came up out of nowhere and hey, hi, here I am again, remember me. This is now a purge where it's coming up so I can see it and release it and let it go once and for all. The reason that it was reoccurring is because I didn't realize where it was coming from. So this is actually great that this has come up over this last week so that I could see it. I could see the cause of it, which I never amazingly connected the dots. It blows my mind because it's so obvious. Now, of course, before we go into revising trauma, it's really important to understand what a purge is. A purge is nothing to be afraid of. It is not the old story coming back and biting you on the ass and reaffirming itself. No, when you're working with revision, you're rewriting consciousness. You're healing that consciousness within you. And that can result in what appears to be that old story coming up and out, just like this. The shit is coming up so it can come out and I can be done with it. I'm still amazed. I did not put the pieces of the puzzle together until this week when this came up. So what can happen after using a revision technique is within 24, 48 hours, it can appear that your reality is going in the opposite direction. And that's why you know it's a purge. It's brief and it's intense and it has the qualities of the old story, so it appears that you've just corrected consciousness and then reality is reflecting back the opposite, but it's like times 10, right? That's how you know it's a purge. Now, a purge can last from a few days to a week, maybe a couple of weeks. It's generally short, sharp, intense, coming up of the old story, and it looks like it's the old story coming back with a vengeance. It's not. It's coming up so it can come out. This is coming up so it can come out, and thank goodness because I was able to connect the dots. There's so many layers to this work that I'm still learning so much about myself from my reality, from this work. It's never ending. Sometimes, yes, it's uncomfortable, but purging is nothing to be afraid of. It is nothing to resist. It's an elimination process. And in the next video, I go into the etymology of what a purging is. It is short, it is sharp, it is moving that consciousness out through your body. And once you can see that, you can clear that. That's the point of a purge. It is not a bad thing. It is not a sign that you're doing it wrong. In fact, it's a sign that you are doing it correctly. You're doing it right. It's coming up so it can come out and you can be free of this story once and for all. This is how powerful revision is. Revision will move things. It'll move things through your body. It'll move things through your reality. It is nothing to be afraid of, but it is a characteristic of revision, but it is a sign that you are successful, that you're on the right track, and to not fall back into the old story. So I just wanted to let you know this. I will get to revising trauma once I've got the energy, because that is going to be a big video, but that's going to be a great video. It's an empowering video. And that's why I'm doing this revision process, so that you know you are not bound to the events and situations and circumstances of your past. You are not bound to anything. But if some things are showing up in your reality that have shown up in before, it's probably because there's a story that's been running for quite some time, and revision will enable you to revise it and rewrite it and experience a completely new reality where you are free of it. Do not let this discourage you from using this techniques. Do not be put off by this. And also, that doesn't mean it will happen. Just because you revise a story does not mean that you're going to purge it out in some way in reality. But sometimes you may, and it's good to know what the characteristics are so that you know what it is if that's something you experience. I will attach the other video now to give you a little bit more information, and I will look forward to seeing you next week. Stay with yourself, stay with I am, and remember, you are the infinite I am of your reality, and your past and future are happening now. Today I wanted to talk about purging because this is a topic that I've spoken a little bit about in my past videos, but also I think there is a little bit of confusion around what purging is and the role it plays in law of assumption. Purging is a really powerful part of this process. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to resist. Consciousness is the cause of reality, and reality is reflecting back what we're doing in consciousness. So if you go from a negative or unfavorable story to suddenly telling yourself a better story, you may experience a purge, and it can come in a number of different ways, and I'll go into that. But it's just like if you are in the physical world and you go out and you have yourself a great meal, like you have the best meal of your life, you are still going to have to go to the toilet after. It's just part of the process. You're going to have to eliminate what is no longer required, even though it was the best meal. And even if you're telling the best stories, there is an elimination part of this process, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. You can purge physically through the physical body. You can also purge mentally or emotionally, and also circumstantial. You can also experience purging in your reality. I'm going to go through each of these. So let's look at what purging actually means based on the original definition. Remember, words are just the signpost for awareness. Purge comes from 13th century purging, clear of charge or suspicion, from Anglo-French purger, Old French purgeur, wash, clean, refine, purify, morally or physically, 12th century, and directly from Latin purgare, cleanse, make clean, purify, especially in reference to the body, free from what is superfluous, remove, clear away. When we are purging, we are essentially purifying the body. The body is purifying itself. Consciousness is purifying itself. There is nothing wrong with purging. It doesn't always feel great. It's not always comfortable, but it's an awesome process because you know that the work that you have been doing in consciousness is actually clearing the way for this new reality to come in and reflect back this work that you've been doing in consciousness. Let's look at the way in which you can purge. So if you are aware of an old story that you've been telling and you've consciously now created a new story, you have now aligned to a new state of consciousness. Now, there can be a time delay and a catch up with the human body into that. Remember, matter has to catch up to consciousness, and there is time and space involved with that process. And there is an elimination process, just like everything. If you change your diet in the physical world, you're going to have an adjustment period in your body. It's the same with consciousness. When you go from an old, negative, unfavorable story to a good story, a positive, high quality story, there is an adjustment period. Now, that adjustment can happen in the physical way. So you can experience physical symptoms, and they could range from anything. We have been taught that that means you're sick or you're ill or there's something wrong with you, but that is not the case. You are purifying and cleansing yourself, and this is a releasing of the old, just like as if you were going to the toilet in human form. It's a very natural part of the physical experience. It's the same with the consciousness as well. You might have a mental purge. There is an unraveling of the old story coming up and out. Now, the key is to not get caught up in that mental spiral. If you've changed the story and you are experiencing a mental spiral, that could be a mental purging of the old story. The key with purging is to not get caught up in the story that there's something wrong with you, and to see it as a releasing of the old. It's an elimination. Just see it as elimination. You could experience purging emotionally. So you're now entertaining new assumptions, and then you might become really emotional. There might be a lot of tears. There might be anger. There might be frustration, there might be irritability, there might be resentment, or whatever it is. There's an emotional elimination process happening. You don't have to identify with what's happening. You want to acknowledge it. This is not comfortable. This is what's happening. It's just a purge. I'm just eliminating what is no longer needed. So I'm just going to hold myself through this process until it passes, because that is what is going to happen. It passes. This passes. You could also, however, experience purge spiritually or energetically. You might change your story to a high quality story, and suddenly you become really tired, or you feel like you just need to rest or to sleep, or you don't have any energy. You may be experiencing some kind of spiritual or energetic purge. The key with purging, one, to know that that's what's happening. You are eliminating waste. You are eliminating what is no longer needed. There's no need to get into a whole story about it. It's just an elimination process. You need to take responsibility for your health and to understand what is right for you. If you need to go to the doctor, you have to go to the doctor. There's no point in resisting reality by denying it. If something is in your reality and it's causing harm to your 3D vehicle, you need to go and address that. And you do that with a healthcare professional. But you also want to look at what are the assumptions you're holding about what is happening. If you're aware that this is just a purge, this is just a release, this is just an elimination, then you know what's happening, and you need to be able to hold yourself through that while this just moves through the body. It will move through, and you just take care of yourself through that. If you change your story, what can sometimes happen is all of a sudden everything goes to shit. And you're like, what is going on here? That's a purge. That is a circumstantial purge. That is consciousness just moving through the physical reality, and your job is to stay faithful to the new story, to the new state of consciousness, to not react to it. Yes, you can see it and acknowledge it. Acknowledgement doesn't mean affirmation of it. Resistance to it means affirmation of it. So you want to acknowledge what's happening and go, okay, that's just my reality purging itself through. And I know that I've changed the story, and this is the story I'm now faithful to, and that's the one I'm sticking with, and my reality will and has to and must catch up to that. So I hope that helps understand what purging is. Please be gentle with yourself. Please be very loving and caring with yourself. Do not judge yourself, just as you wouldn't judge yourself to going to the toilet after having a meal. You do not have to judge yourself for purging after changing your story. This is just a natural part of the elimination process. This isn't an up-leveling. This is coming up and out, so you never have to experience it again. You are on a new timeline. You're going to experience a new reality. Your reality will and must catch up, because reality is the reflection of what you're doing in consciousness. Consciousness is real. Reality is the reflection of what is real. And just know that you are the amazing and powerful creators of your reality. You are the superstar of your show. You are the producer, the writer, the director, and the actor in your movie. What you assume to be true will be so. So assume the best for you. Assume the best for everyone in your movie too, and you will have an amazing life. And this is my wish, my vision, and my prayer for you. And for me too. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. Thank you for your beautiful comments, which I love reading. If you would like to subscribe to my channel, I would love to have you, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.